Hey, what's going on?
How you doing? We got
All
good.
right.
When I'm walking down the
I
street.
do want to say to Donnie and many of you in this room that over a very long career in this city, all of you have helped me and my colleagues tell the truth and to try to tell.
I may not look like you and you me, but
Put my hat
I'm
up.
from South Carolina, so I just
dare to be you.
got it.
What does this event mean to you, Miss Peggy Morris?
Oh,
Happy 20th anniversary.
my heart is about loving up on my sisters. Do you know what it feels like to have your sisters in the room? Johnny.
Dare to be me and dare to be different and unique. I'm gonna be the best me I can be by letting His glory shine through. I am beautiful, I am blessed, but not just what you see in the flesh. I'm free from people, free from myself. There's a
The doctor lived next door to the janitor to the reverend, and the lawyer. We were together. Now we get so high and mighty that you create stress for your society because you don't like poor black folks anyway. That's a health problem. Get yourself together so I can stop being taking care of geriatric people and get back to pediatrics. I thank you, Donnie, for all you've done. Let's keep doing it for all the more.
letting His glory shine through. Dare to be you, dare to be me, dare to be different and unique. I'm gonna be the best me I can be by letting His glory shine through. And I dare you, I dare you, I dare you to be you.
First name's Donnie, last name's Glover. In it to win it for the long haul, baby. We have with us the one, the only, all the way from the Bay Area, Mr. Kamal Hubbard. Hello, sir. Happy Sunday to you.
Hey, Donnie. Happy Sunday. Thanks for making it happen on a Sunday evening. I know the time difference always seems to throw us off from getting connected the way we want to, so I appreciate you taking time out.
It's all good. It's a very important bit of news that you want to talk about. Let me just get it up here correctly. This is the Black Blockchain Summit, September 21st to the 23rd at Howard University.
Yeah, correct.
There we go.
This is going to be the first year I'm attending, and in fact, I'm going to be working with the Internet Computer Protocol, ICP, their North American hub, to just go out there and speak about what this network is all about. I had an opportunity a few months back to speak to their folks here in their San Francisco office. And I said, I want to raise awareness about what you guys are doing. And, just threw the idea out there. They absolutely loved it and are supporting it. And they want to get, like I said, the word out around what the internet computer is all about, especially within our community. So, I appreciate you once again for taking time out to allow me to speak about this subject.
So let's go through some basic vocabulary for the everyday person. I mean, my job is to help translate this to the everyday person. So, what is some, let's start with blockchain. What is blockchain, Kamal?
Okay, so blockchain is essentially a type of ledger. So a ledger is like a record. Ledgers are used typically by people like accountants, right, to track things like debits and credits. So if you have a business and you need bookkeeping, and you go to a bookkeeper or an accountant to do that for you, they're going to ledger all of your transactions, financial transactions, and expenses to see essentially at the end of the day how much something like taxes you owe, or once again, how many expenses you actually incurred during the course of a certain period.
So that's what blockchain is in the world of, can we say in the world of crypto? Is crypto the broader term?
Yeah. So blockchain technology, once again, which is a ledger that is publicly available. So anyone right now can go online and access, we'll just say the Bitcoin blockchain, and look at transactions as they're happening in real time. So it's completely public, and they can look at those transactions that are taking place on this ledger, once again, at all times, 24/7, 365. And that ledger technology, once again, empowers cryptocurrencies and as well as the Internet Computer Protocol. And what makes the Internet Computer Protocol a little bit different from other blockchains out there is it's a type of blockchain that you can build anything on. You can build websites on it, uh, decentralized financial applications on it, games, metaverse, and all sorts of other things. And what it's really been built to do is to eliminate the traditional IT services, things like Amazon Services and Microsoft Azure Cloud. So you can do, once again, all sorts of things like online storage without the use of going to those intermediaries anymore.
So you hear Darius right there has a question for you about the 12 words. I know what the 12 words are. What are the 12 words?
Right. So, when you...
Is that skipping around? Are we going too soon to the 12 words?
No, I'll try to bridge the gap right there. So we talked about the blockchain being a ledger, and this ledger is essentially tracking coins or financial transactions going from one account to another. These accounts are what are termed in cryptocurrency speak, I guess, as wallets. So those accounts will have a certain amount of coins or funds on a particular wallet. And to create a new account or to create a new wallet, you have to have these 12 seed words, or what's called these 12 seed words, that once your new account or your new wallet is generated, those 12 words act as a code in case you lose your wallet, right? Or you lose access to your account at some point and you need to restore it. If you don't have those 12 words, then you've lost essentially all your funds in that wallet.
Wow. How did you get interested in crypto, Kamal? How did it happen? Tell me your journey.
Yeah, well, it's been a long time since the first time I came across this, but I was actually studying the subprime mortgage crisis that essentially grew into a larger global credit crisis while I was at Stanford's Rock Center for Corporate Governance, and I was managing research in federal securities litigation. So all those cases that turned into shareholder class actions against companies like Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Citibank, JP Morgan, who essentially, I'm not going to say allowed this to happen, but they didn't necessarily have the right stops in place to divert that global credit crisis. And in those studies, I kept coming across this thing called Bitcoin, which, instead of having a centralized type of financial system, which is what we have, it's transitioning more into a decentralized peer-to-peer financial system that takes banks out of the equation. So essentially, it came about because, hey, banks created this crisis. So what would happen if we were able to have financial transactions by taking banks out of the equation? And so that really resonated with me. And I took 2 years of independent study just to understand what Bitcoin was and how it worked, and to see the fraudulent aspects and understand the fraudulent aspects, because really early on, all people were saying is, hey, it's a scam, it's a fraud, it's not true. And like I said, I took 2 years to understand the technology as best I could before I actually entered the market. But, you know, I always say, if I had, instead of taking that 2 years to study and just gotten into the market, made my mistakes, which I would have made anyway, I'd probably be much better off than I am now, and most likely retired, and hopefully have some island money or something.
What percentage of Black people are into this whole world of crypto, Bitcoin, and the like?
Well, I think the good thing about blockchain, metaverse, NFTs, crypto, and all these things that Web3 encompasses, and especially with the decentralized aspect of it, right? And not having to have that centralized authority to say, okay, hey, you can participate in this. Once again, it's very attractive to a lot of Black people who have faced historical discrimination in traditional finance. So I think there is a pretty high percentage of Black people who are involved in this, and they also see it as an opportunity to pursue financial freedom, once again, outside of that paradigm. So yes, and there was a Pew Research study that came out, I believe, a few years back, that talked about Black people really adopting cryptocurrencies at higher levels than other communities, because they see this, once again, as a means towards greater financial freedom.
Here's a question from one of our viewers. Is there a way our people can become Bitcoin miners on a larger scale?
Well, that's actually becoming more and more difficult. There's been a lot of talk recently about the company Grayscale, which is the largest Bitcoin institutional investor in the world. And they have what's called the Grayscale Bitcoin fund. And what they're also applying for is a Bitcoin spot exchange traded fund, or an ETF. So they're the largest institutional investor in Bitcoin, and they want to have a Bitcoin ETF. And while that is actually in process now, they are focusing on getting as much Bitcoin mining hardware as possible, right? So they want to have everything from end to end when it comes to the production of Bitcoin, the ability to make Bitcoin available to people in terms of traditional finance, and they want to have as much Bitcoin from a custodial standpoint as possible as well. So to a certain extent, I wouldn't say that door is closing necessarily, but you have one of the largest players in Bitcoin from a traditional standpoint only wants to get their hands on more Bitcoin. I think to a certain extent, a lot of other people do. And, this is why networks like the Internet Computer Protocol are important, because it takes us away from the focus of solely being Bitcoin and how easy it can be to build these Web3 applications on something other than Bitcoin. But something that's also interesting about the Internet Computer Protocol is that it has been integrated into the Bitcoin network. So essentially, you can use the Internet Computer Protocol, ICP, to interact with the Bitcoin blockchain. So you can create transactions using this network much cheaper and much faster than you can, almost a little bit more secure than you can on the Bitcoin network, which is very interesting.
Can you say that in everyday people's terms, in layman's words, language?
Right, I sure can. So basically, you can use this. Essentially, it's a more technologically advanced type of blockchain that can interact now with the Bitcoin blockchain. So if you wanted to send $5 of Bitcoin to someone, you would not have to necessarily log into your Bitcoin wallet and then send the funds and then pay that network fee, which at times can fluctuate. You can actually now use a smartwatch, in fact, to verify that sort of transaction. The Internet Computer Protocol will allow for other devices to enable those things very easily, essentially at either the touch of a button, the entry of a PIN code, or like your fingerprint or something like that at a much lower cost. And once again, at a very high speed. And so, like, now, I guess to make it to use an example, if you have an Apple Watch and you wanted to send that $5 to someone in Bitcoin, you could do that. Hopefully, that's simplifying that example. And what's currently also happening is integration onto the Ethereum network as well. So the internet computer is going to essentially be able to talk to all these other blockchains out there and become interoperable. So someone who is also on the Ethereum network or on the Bitcoin network can send you funds and you can receive it on the internet computer. Oh, I think you're on mute. I wasn't able to catch your question.
Bad. So let's go to this Black Blockchain Summit that's happening at Howard University. You announced on Be More News that you have a collaboration with Dfinity and the Internet Computer Protocol. And as a part of this cooperative effort with Internet Computer Protocol North America, you'll be covering the intriguing Black Blockchain Summit. Now, before we get into it, you are an expert. Is that correct? I mean, essentially, people have been calling on you. You've done a show on it. Somebody stole you away from our network to come and be on their network, but then we stole you back.
Yes, yeah.
Tell them. I mean, so what are your credentials? Why are you the guru? Tell them why you're the expert. Or at least you're a leading Black proponent of this. And because when I look at this Black and go to Black Blockchain Summit, I've seen some names: Alec Kanani, Ida Rilling, Arthur Hayes, Cameron Winklevoss, Cleve Messidor. I mean, these are apparently big names in the technology. People with companies, sponsors include Bithub Africa, AfriBlocks, Galaxy Digital, Blockchain Association, Bitcoin Magazine, Black People in Cryptocurrency, National Policy Network, Women of Color in Blockchain. I mean, you are keeping us cutting edge. Who are these people? What are your credentials?
Well, okay. In terms of my credentials, I think I kind of touched on them. I've also written a book on decentralized finance. I've received certifications in fraud examination, cybersecurity, and decentralized finance. Like I said, I wrote a book called DeFi for the Diaspora that makes the case for decentralized finance as a way to, once again, take banks and traditional finance out of the equation to get greater economic global sustainability for the African diaspora, people of African heritage, and Black people who have been historically underserved and remain underbanked by traditional finance. So I remain humble and all that comes my way. So sometimes there's things that I leave out, but I definitely am very thankful to the Black Blockchain Summit organizers. They have welcomed me with open arms, as
How
well
did
as
they find you?
well, so a lot of those people who are going to be there, I've either interacted with, worked with them before. And a lot of people I haven't had an opportunity to meet and work with, but these are pretty much the brightest minds in blockchain and in crypto and in Web3. One of the chief organizers, principal organizers, is a gentleman named Skinner St. Clair, who he is an engineer by trade, and he was in Bitcoin almost first or second year, and he's done so much in the space. And I had an opportunity to meet him here in the Bay Area, and we actually had a really great talk the other day, and he just talked about how the summit is. It's like everybody getting together, almost like a family reunion style sort of thing, where we're talking about how we're going to solve problems with blockchain and Web3 and crypto, to make a more peaceful world, to once again find economic sustainability for Black people who've been essentially marginalized by a traditional financial system. It's not all Black people who are going to be there. We have some, or they have some great sponsors. Once again, I was able to have a conversation with the Internet Computer Protocol and said, is there a way that we can work to solving the racial wealth gap with your group? And they said, yes, we want to do that. We want to provide grants for Black developers and raise awareness so they can build on the internet computer. So that's another thing I'm going out there to discuss, is all these wonderful grant programs with the Internet Computer Protocol that folks at the Howard University Blockchain Lab can participate in, as well as just other attendees who are developers or people in the community who can understand what the Internet Computer Protocol is all about, and raise awareness alongside the North American ICP hub. So that's, like I said, what I'm looking forward to, or at least accomplishing with this trip to the summit.
Have HBCUs in general embraced this blockchain technology?
I think so. I mean, Howard, like I said, they have a blockchain lab. I know that there is a very solid blockchain club that Morehouse has. In terms of other HBCUs, I think that they may have some kind of like extracurricular clubs out there that are focused on blockchain.
But you would recommend that every HBCU have some type of crypto blockchain organization, club, hub, whatever, so that they could be at something like this Black Blockchain Summit, September 21st to the 23rd at Howard U.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And there's been quite a bit of outreach to try and create these sort of things by various other entities and organizations. Like I said, I'm committed to really raising awareness once again through ICP, just because it allows people to build these decentralized applications at such a lower cost compared to, once again, having to use Google, having to use Amazon, having to use Microsoft to, have the cloud infrastructure to do certain things. You just bypass all that. And that no longer becomes an overhead cost that folks would need to worry about. So getting some of these young developers to build these sort of ideas and applications can be absolute game changers in the next coming years.
Mm-hmm. So tell me a little more about this summit. Is this the first time that there's been a Black Blockchain Summit at Howard University? Is this the norm?
No, this is actually the sixth annual Black Blockchain Summit, and it got curtailed like a lot of conferences out there due to COVID. But I think they may have had in person last year, but they're in person once again this year, clearly.
Mhm.
And it's just, from my understanding, only getting bigger and better.
What about African countries? Are our African brothers and sisters on the continent involved in blockchain in this crypto technology?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. In fact, in a lot of ways, our African counterparts are almost a little bit further ahead than we are when it comes to some of the developments. And one of the people I'm
Why?
going to, well, because a large part of it is being unbanked and having access to financial tools, right? So if you don't have a bank account and you can't pay for certain things, then you have to find alternatives. And one of something that kind of proved this was years ago, a Safaricom had uh, basically a type of currency called M-Pesa, which allowed for people to have mobile phone units, right? Or mobile phone minutes, excuse me. And people used M-Pesa essentially as a currency. So they weren't using their local currencies or national currencies to do transactions. People were actually trading minutes uh, using this thing called M-Pesa to get goods and services essentially. So they didn't have bank accounts, so they were using other services out there to facilitate financial transactions. So now there's a very low barrier to entry, right? That proved that there's a very low barrier to entry where, as long as you have an internet connected device and an internet connection, you can transact once again using cryptocurrencies, using decentralized financial tools. So it essentially, once again, takes banks out of the equation. The banks that were saying, oh, we're not going to establish a branch because you're in a certain country, right? Or your area is a little bit too rural for us. Now, if someone has, once again, a smartphone and an internet connection or a cellular connection, they can get the things that they need.
So listen, we want to thank you for joining us. We got a couple of minutes left. Any final thoughts?
No, not at all. Well, I would like to share once again. Want to express my appreciation to the Internet Computer Protocols North American Hub for allowing me to represent them at the Black Blockchain Summit. All the Black Blockchain Summit organizers, and something I am actually looking forward to that goes along with your previous question is I'm going to be speaking to the ICP East African Hub co-founder there. So we're actually going to be able to talk about what are the issues that are facing developers using the Internet Computer Protocol in East Africa and how they're able to build really some of these decentralized applications that are going to help the African continent. So I'm very much looking forward to that.
Are you at all surprised by the genius you find in our African brothers on the continent and sisters?
No, really not at all. And not here and not throughout the diaspora one bit, because, it's all the ingenuity that we have as a people have been able to tap into just throughout the years. So I'm not surprised, but I'm always astounded by all the new things that we're able to do.
Good deal. How can people get in touch with you, Kamal?
Well, find me on LinkedIn at Kamal R. Hubbard, as well as on Twitter, same thing, at Kamal R. Hubbard. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram. So those are the best ways to find me.
And what is the name of your book again?
DeFi for the Diaspora. DEFI for the Diaspora.
And what's it about again?
Well, how we can create a global, sustainable economic system using decentralized finance.
Getting rid of the banks.
Well, essentially, yes. Essentially, yes. But the way things are going from a regulatory standpoint, unfortunately, due to all the fraud that took place in crypto and in years past, regulators are coming in and they're basically looking to pass all this off to Wall Street. So,
How's that going to go?
well, we're going to see. We're going to see how that's going to go. There's always going to be people who are going to push back, but in a lot of ways, it may make it easier for folks who have had difficulty, actually onboarding and adopting cryptocurrency. So now let's just say a Fidelity is able to make an app that makes it easier for people to buy Bitcoin or to have access or exposure to Bitcoin through an ETF. That could be a good thing, but laws and regulation are always a few steps behind the technology. So if the technology is at a cutting edge, it's always going to take some time for the regulators to catch up. So there's going to be that space between. And as long as we can remain moral and ethical in how we operate in that space and we're able to innovate, I think there is definitely an ability for us to do the sort of things that I discussed in my book.
Good deal. Kamal Hubbard, we thank you for joining us on this Sunday evening, and we wish you well at the Black Blockchain Summit coming up at Howard University.
Thanks so much, Donnie. I appreciate it. Stay safe and take care.
Yes, sir. Good evening, world.